Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League. My name is Finch. I'm happy to have you here joining me. We're going to be breaking down our very last set here of the day in just one moment. But hey, check out that battle-worn chest. Go get Infantry Sylvanas right now. I can't think of a good reason why you wouldn't. Hop on in the game and have some fun there, guys. Infantry Sylvanas, pretty cool. But joining me here on the desk, I have Melissa Taka Posada here with me as we move into our final set here of the day. Looking forward to it.
I'm honestly, hold up. I'm amazed you didn't mention the Admiral Quanger. I mean, you
that's
pretty
right.
much pioneered the SS Quanger.
Well, that is what his name is now, officially in the game. Yeah, so that's the name of. Is he in that chest? Is that right?
He was in that chest.
Guys, go out there and get that skin too. That's good work by you, Taka. That's why she makes such
That's
a
why I'm
good
here.
chair to here for me. Last set though that we're going into. This is Cryptik going up against Hype Unit, and so far these games today have actually been kind of one-sided, haven't they? For the most part, there's been some pretty brutal matches. Hopefully, we're in for one that is a bit more close here between these two teams. Taco, how are you expecting this one to go?
Well, considering that Hype Unit's one of the newer rosters to the minor league, I am expecting maybe a little bit of flavor pickup. I mean, they've got some players that have been around the block a couple of times before, so will be rather interesting to see how they deal with Cryptik. Yeah,
it's looking like even molluskk is on this team. I imagine he dropped down right from that LG team, so now he's playing here with this squad as well. So, I mean, they're full up of a bunch of familiar names, so I actually do have pretty high expectations here for these guys to perform in this set.
Molluskk being on a team, though, can lead to only one thing.
Early pressure?
Is early pressure and maybe an absolute... I'm expecting this to be a very chaotic match between these two teams.
Exactly, right? In one way or the other, this probably will also be a pretty quick game, right? With the way that molluskk plays, he loves to go all in. Let's get those picks and bans ready then for game number one here, Taco. Team Cryptik going to be going up against Hype Unit, as I said. Cryptik, another one should be pretty familiar with. They don't seem to have been much changed. Diesel, Sibyl, ShadowChair, Cope, and Mando on this squad, so I expect them to also be looking pretty strong here too. They'll be first as they've banned away the Chernobog.
Interesting ban away of the Chernobog. That leads me to believe that Cryptik a little bit more concerned about target banning and maybe even looking to prioritize some top-tier selection choices like the Scotty, like the Thor, Isis even being a possibility here since Hype Unit has taken note of Kronos and Erlong, just trying to strip away those heavy setup base gods.
You're right, there's definitely still a lot of strong picks. Scotty does also get taken, so that I think does put a lot of pressure now onto Hype to ban away. Maybe the Isis, the Thor also comes to mind. Even Jormungandr wouldn't be too bad a ban in this slot, but instead it is the Ares. So Cryptik's cup runneth over with a ton of really strong options, and they'll go back to the Zhong Kui. Man, can't believe I didn't list Zhong Kui. I just assumed we would have banned this guy at this point, right? He's also very strong right
now. We got an extra ban, and it feels like there's still 10 more gods you have to worry about after you make it through the first 6. But Olorun going to be a strong, responsive option here. And what I'm really looking towards is how well can Sanctified Field control this Zhong Kui? Because a big proponent of wanting to take that Zhong Kui first is he does have a little bit of that flex pick option available to him. You can go in solo, you can go in mid, even the ADC role can be fulfilled by Zhong Kui, although maybe a little bit more skeptical on that with Hou Yi having been locked in. But I am definitely noting this Olorun as a detrimental factor towards this Zhong Kui. I just don't know how he gets his ult off in time.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to get away from it. You're so reliant on either some form of CC or some sort of CC immunity or purification beads, because that does allow you to move at normal pace throughout that field. Zhong Kui might be limited. Hercules, though, has been selected for Cryptik, and I got to imagine that support making me think of Aurora from the SPL level and how much he can run the early game when he picks this up.
I think I might have been a bigger fan of this Herc pickup, though, had it not been locked in against an Isis. Isis is going to have the Wingas to have immunity from the Earthbreaker knockup. She also has a Silence, which can really shut down a lot of Herc's utility setup off the Driving Strike. And Excavate, sure, it deals damage, but you've got to get close enough and live long enough to deal it.
Well, Hype Unit has now picked up the set. And if they could even get close to what we saw Panatom do in his Game 1 performance where he had the quadra triple kill type game, then we could be in for quite a show. Set clearly, when he's able to get ahead and pick his spots, can just run a game like any other hyper carry.
Set just has so much backline dive potential, and the Guan Yu is only going to further that asset. But more importantly, I'm looking towards this Guan Yu for the sustain features that he's going to be able to provide alongside of that Isis.
They actually have a pretty good amount of sustain. Olorun, we don't talk about it much, but he's actually got some sustain in his kit, as does Isis, obviously, via Circle of Protections, set with the self-healing and Guan Yu. Cryptik want to make sure that they're also getting people who can apply anti-heal pretty well. Zhong Kui already can do that pretty well. The Suns may be a little bit lacking on this team, but I think they still have some gods that can pick up Divine Ruins and Brawlers.
The Awilix pick seems a little bit forced, though, from Cryptik. Isn't really ideal setup anywhere for hype units. A self-setup, I guess, for that Awilix off the gravity
not
surge.
a ton of jumps or anything, right?
Maybe Earthbreaker for Hercules, but again, like I mentioned, I have some very steep concerns right now towards this Hercules in regards to the Isis set and Guan Yu being able to limit him.
We'll see if they can make it work as Horus rounds out the draft here for hype unit. Cryptik, hype unit, last set of the day. Let's start the cast.
Thank you, Finch and Taco. It's Aggro and Anatoly on the cast for our final set of the day. We're seeing Hype Unit's SML debut here at Toli, and this draft looks pretty darn good to me. I mean, Isis, Horus, Set, Olorun, all either fairly new or new gods that people seem to think are pretty good.
It's a well-balanced meal to get you through the day, I think. You got your defensive options from the Isis and the Guan Yu, aggression coming through molluskk on the set, and you know his playstyle is always aggressive. I'm always leaning towards seeing if he's going to gank that dual lane after the speed buff.
A little surprised that Sibyl got the driving strike at level 1. We see most Hercules when they're going to lane it up over here in solo. Start with the 2 to group up the wave, hit it all very easily. There, Sibyl hits nothing but air. And what should have been a lane, I think, MandoWarrior and Sibyl win and clear, they might lose now.
I think Sibyl was anticipating RussianPapi to start the Tallow Assault, and by doing so, the driving strike would cancel out that ability. So unfortunately for Sibyl, didn't really work out. A lot of poke potential, though, with the driving strike, just to get that damage online, force a couple of health potions sooner rather than later, maybe force out Pegon back to base.
I'm excited to see Pegon here in a real competitive setting because he's been tearing up the rank scene for a while now. As what do you know, it's a dual lane gank, but it's not by molluskk, it's by Cope. SBennyQ in trouble. Ricochet lands, but must have been another second or two until that feather step came up. SBennyQ's beads now down. But yeah, Pegon's been a mainstay of the high-level rank scene for a little bit, but this is his first foray in a while into the competitive scene. I'm excited to see how he does.
Feeling confident starting off with a blink, anticipating some early plays coming out of him once he rotates away from that solo lane. Also a blink coming out of Sibyl on the Hercules. Both of these supports are setting themselves up to maybe make some presence in that mid lane. Sops and ShadowChair have to be mindful about those rotations.
No blink for molluskk, though. A lot of times we'll see junglers go blink on top of that. Not the case here for molluskk. We've seen a lot of sets go away from blink entirely. We see a lot of them go beads Aegis. I believe that's exactly what we saw in the last game for Penitom, in the last set rather, where he played it in game 1. I guess you just have enough, you can cover so much distance with that Sandstorm teleport that maybe you don't need the blink.
And even the Kingslayer gives you that mobility for the chase down potential. You want to all-in commit as set, right? So you kind of want that damage reduction. So once you teleport in with the Sandstorm, you're getting the damage reduction, you're getting the movement speed through the Kingslayer. You might as well have the Aegis to be able to really get yourself out if you get into a sticky situation.
I'm excited to see how this Olorun plays out. We haven't seen too much of it. I know Barracuda seems to really like it for Space Station and the SPL, but we've seen some teams ban it pretty heavily. We've seen other teams completely ignore it and it go kind of unpicked, unbanned. Where do you feel like Olorun ranks among top picks right now?
I don't think he's like the best mage ADC. I would still rather pick Soul, Chronos above him. Chronos definitely getting banned away. This game, I believe Soul was available, but opting rather for that Olorun. And I think a lot of that comes from the sanctified field, the time dilation. Always a good way to slow down your opponents, especially when you're dealing with all these huge AoE ultimates. You got your Zhong, you also got the Hou Yi Suns. Buys you time to get out of dodge.
Zhong in particular really struggles against Sanctified Field. I mean, no innate CC immunity, which is a big thing that you need against that ultimate. He's all about, you know, walking through the team fight and dealing relevant damage all the way through. Him being a lot slower and the ghosts that have come out being a lot slower. That's a huge deal for sure, as both junglers poke their heads in on the left-hand side, but neither wants to come knocking. As SBennyQ is level 5, Diesel just now hitting over to that mark. molluskk, no starting power option. He went boots 1 right off the get-go, and as a result, he's able to finish his boots very early, but doesn't have that extra little bit of power. And he's going for this bruiser style build, it seems like. We've seen two kind of schools of thought. Hold that thought, Diesel wanted to get aggressive. Just gets the beads out for SBennyQ and takes his win.
Gonna call over the jungler probably to gank immediately after that. Cope has to be looking for it. or even maybe Sibyl to rotate over. And you were talking about the boots rush from molluskk. Not only did it allow him to back to base first and complete that for the mobility factor, but it's giving him more stacks in the Assassin's Blessing department. He was sitting at 30 while Cope was at 26. Getting the right side mid camps is going to be a big little boost for him as well. Speed buff coming up a little bit soon, as already Cope staggered his speed buff. He just now finished off the back. Going to match the timing though.
And at this point, they are basically even itemization. Both junglers have boots and a tier 1 of another item, but as you mentioned, molluskk with that extra bit of mobility, slightly ahead in those Assassin's Blessing stacks, at least for the moment. But this build style for Set, we saw Panatom go with the early pen option as Pegon blinks in, can't find it on a Sibyl. He went early pen, and Transcendence was all damage. molluskk looks like he's going to go for a Blackthorn Hammer right off the bat. A little bit more ability to get in there and get your hands dirty with the ultimate, but not nearly as much poke damage.
It just feels like what you're trying to accomplish in the early game. Cope, by starting off the maze, almost got a kill in that dual lane gank, and he needed that extra power to maybe find the kill. Once molluskk started the boots, he wasn't interested in the damage.
RussianPapi spends the ultimate to get away from Cope's gank, while the jungler on the left-hand side was helping on purple. SBennyQ in some trouble until he dropped the Sanctified Field, but even without beads, all those suns slow on down in that Sanctified Field. Again, that's a win for Diesel. His ultimate is a much lower cooldown. You can see just how big of an ultimate that can be for Olorun.
But by the time Diesel's ultimate comes back up, SBennyQ speeds will be available. There needs to be that outside god to come into this dual lane gank to really shut down SBennyQ. Olorun in the early game, not the most threatening of sorts, but if there was a way to shut him down to prevent his late game threats, that's how Diesel can start calling over for the Gold Fury objectives and start building a lead for Cryptik.
It's the right idea, I think, to try and stay aggressive against the Olorun. Maybe now's the time where neither of you have ults and he doesn't have purification beads. Just to jump in from Diesel might be what the doctor ordered. I feel like Hou Yi is one of those gods that really punishes immobile gods pretty well. Olorun certainly fits that bill. You imagine it could be a decent matchup for him as sops forcing back both members of the enemy team because Pegon's delivering molluskk right on top of ShadowChair. ShadowChair's going to go down and Pegon claims first blood. Sops still in some trouble, but a beautiful double spirit ball turns the fight right back on its head. Sops was the target from the beginning, but in the end, he's the one who stands.
But there's going to be a return kill, but no mana for the feather. Steph Pegon going to get away by the skin of his teeth. It took about 6 minutes and 40 seconds, aggro, but finally, first blood and even second blood going the way of Hype Unit off of a great ultimate from Pegon.
ShadowChair immediately knew that things were going poorly. He dropped the ultimate pretty early to try and get away. SBennyQ again. Purification beats the Diesel and has another opportunity at this point to maybe play aggressive, but again, SBennyQ on the enemy purple. This time we'll give it up because his wave got cleared a little bit too early on. But the idea was there from Cryptik. They were going to chase Sops down, but Sops kites really nicely, starts to play aggressive, and that tipped off Team Cryptik. But ShadowChair immediately, even with the ultimate, wasn't enough.
Wing Gust basically giving you extra mobility as the Isis player gets away from the crush that was laid on the floor. ShadowChair and Sibyl couldn't coordinate together. Sibyl a little bit too close to effectively get the sweet spot of the pull to enable the driving strike after the fact, and Sops very comfortable on the Isis, you can tell, turning that gank around, knowing that he had assistance later on. And then that little skirmish on the left side, Diesel consistently bullying SBennyQ in little ways.
molluskk going to show up as a sandstorm, and this is where you don't really need the blink. Look at all that movement speed. Diesel has the beads if he wants to use them. Sanctified Field gets molluskk a couple extra autos. Skewer coming up, and molluskk does get the kill. Sibyl has to try and toss the boulder, but molluskk has the Kingslayer, a bit of extra movement speed, gets him out of range. Pegon showing up, knocks up ShadowChair. Great damage coming from Pegon. And all of a sudden, ShadowChair can't even keep the fight going. Another defensive use of that ultimate, but Cope finally finds some purchase on the right-hand side.
You got to find something if you're not going to assist your Hunter on the left side. Diesel constantly playing aggressive. That time he wasn't playing aggressive. That was a forced gank under the tier 1 tower. I definitely feel like Cryptik could have adapted a little bit faster to the safety there, but at least responding towards the right side. It's going to allow MandoWarrior more of that beefy presence once these mid-game team fights comes through. And on top of that, you're shutting down a Guan Yu, which is going to be a big detriment and a big thorn on the side of Cryptik.
Yeah, ask the entire SPL how easy it is to deal with a fed Zhong. We're seeing most of them over in the long lane, but MandoWarrior getting fed in solo right now. That's certainly something that Hype Unit's going to have to deal with. But at the same time, I've loved the way they've played so far. sBennyQ has been under siege, sure, but he's been able to stay strong. Pegon has really used these ultimates from Horus incredibly well, and we see a lot of players really struggle with finding the right spots to use them. Both of his ultimates so far have been incredibly impactful.
Not only that, the blink just for secondary good measure. He's been in the right place at the right time. He's ignoring the solo lane after starting there to enable the first blue buff safety, and since then he's been all over mid and the dual lane, which we haven't really seen often in minor league, pro league play. Usually these hunter/mages are left to their own devices, so the fact that Pegon is taking that into consideration shows the game plan from Hype Unit, that they're really relying on protecting sBennyQ to allow this Olorun that mid to late game presence that he's known for.
No Pythags piece for him, not that support sort of mage option that a lot of players are going for right now. Straight into the Bancrofts, trying to leverage that damage, come a little bit later on. Things are not going particularly well for Cryptik, I'd say, in mid or duo, even despite Diesel really outboxing sBennyQ most of the time. Solo lane, things are going very well for Team Cryptik. MandoWarrior already has a tower down. He's looking very, very comfortable in the Zhong. And now molluskk is maybe feeling that a little bit, is heading on over alongside Pegon. Copebby's already here, but here comes the aggression right on top of MandoWarrior. He drops the sun, or he drops the ultimate, but still gets very low. molluskk does end up getting that kill. Great rotation in from sops as well. Cleans up Copebby. Sibyl is nothing but a formality, and Pegon is bringing everyone right on top of ShadowChair.
Let's go! Chase him down, boys! Getting another kill. Sops with a beautiful rotation, gets a double stun on that Spirit Ball. Pegon yet again 3 for 3 on some sick timing ultimates, a 4 for nothing. There's not much more you can ask for unless sBennyQ can survive this.
Diesel uses the beads, but now he's slowed down a little bit too much. Too slow for sBennyQ, that's for sure. I like the idea he pre-beads, but you kind of got to save that for the moment it's going to count. And sBennyQ's beads and that Bancroft's Talon, man, that's where sBennyQ wants to be low HP, because he's going to deal that much more damage and sustain that much more.
The glass cannon build is not only setting himself up for the 1v1 victories like that, but also the mid to late game team fights, because he's relying on the heals from RussianPapi's Guan, the heals from Pegon's Horus, the damage mitigation coming through from Sops' Circle of Protection, the shield bonus that he's going to get from that Dispel magic. So you can get away with the glass cannon build, whereas a lot of these other mages are not doing so.
Sops in trouble. Crush and Sikkim both miss, but Sibyl still able to clean it up. molluskk gets stunned by MandoWarrior, who's made his rotation over, bringing the fight more towards the mid lane. He's going to need the ultimate just to be sure, because there was quite a bit of damage coming his way, but he will escape anyways. Sops takes a spill, and Sibyl gets a big bonus for that shutdown. Sops sitting at 2-0 and 4 right before that death.
Looking for a little bit more penetration in his build. Speaking of other builds, molluskk, we were considering the Blackthorn Hammer, but instead the Frostbound Hammer makes a lot of sense with how much mobility you get from Kingslayer. I believe it's 25% movement speed during that duration. The extra slow certainly doesn't hurt once the ultimate is down from ShadowChair. Once the jump is already expended out of Diesel, they're sitting ducks.
That's a great point, and MandoWarrior kind of a sitting duck all the time. I think that can work really well. Stunned by Sibyl, sets up some damage on a RussianPapi. They pull him in. They're going to try and full combo him, but ShadowChair too late on that ultimate. Don't think it would have mattered anyway, to be honest with you. RussianPapi just way too tanky with the Genji's guard.
That's right. He's able to survive that one. A lot of just CCs stacking on top of each other. The diminishing returns eventually caught up with all of Cryptik. That ultimate from ShadowChair needed to be much earlier to find even the potential of a kill.
Copebby dead to Sops' CC alongside Pegon. Sibyl seems like he might be soon to follow. He's able to get a big heal off, mitigate wounds, but look at all the damage ShadowChair is taking from RussianPapi. molluskk gonna join the fray right on top of MandoWarrior. Mando dead to rights, 5 in a row now for molluskk, who wants to keep it going. Finds the slow onto Sibyl, and look at this train of pain from Hype Unit just running it down mid. Everyone dead besides Sibyl. and Hype Unit has their pick of the litter on what they want.
Not very common to dive a tier 2 tower at 14 minutes, but when your Hype Unit grouped up as 5 with this composition, it becomes that much easier. The sustain is really starting to show. The cooldown reduction from RussianPapi. I love the way he used that cavalry charge, standing or charging rather at the wall, using that kind of as a way to get extra hits onto his initial target from Sibyl, but then eventually switching the target to ShadowChair. It was only the last hit of the cavalry charge and the rest of the Talu Assault that got this Scylla, this level 10 Scylla, to 25% health. Then since then, the chase was on. Hype Unit with a commanding lead after the objective.
Great team fight from them. They've looked phenomenal so far. molluskk 5-0-5 on this set has really been where the action is. I wouldn't say that he's forcing the action all the time, but the way that he's roaming around the map, it just seems to follow him, and he's just always in the right spot.
And I don't think the build accelerated him into this position. It was just a decision-making of where he should be at the right place at the right time. It was Cope at level 2 that tried to force the issue at the left side. Almost worked out for him, just didn't have the cooldowns necessary, and I think that might have hurt him a little bit in the farming department, where Hype Unit's jungler was able to just finish off the Assassin's Blessing a tad faster.
10 kill lead already for Hype Unit, nearing 10K. Looking a little bit tough for the boys of Team Cryptik. As Hype Unit start to group it up. Huge XP disadvantage as well.
Oh yeah.
Poke coming from molluskk. I mean, 4 levels in the jungle, 3 levels in mid, 4 levels in duo. Potentially about to be more as Diesel drops both relics and the ultimate. That's actually enough. Good amount of danger. Shoutouts to the change to Hou Yi a couple patches ago. Lets him move during the ultimate cast, but still, I mean, Hype Unit kind of gets to go where they want, when they want.
Tier 2 tower siege with RussianPapi trying to go for the flank. Cavalry charge to the backside. Diesel first to fall.
ShadowChair in that ultimate defensively again, and again he falls without hitting a target. Lowest player damage in the game for ShadowChair right now, has not made an impact whatsoever. And a surrender vote goes up and goes through for Team Cryptik, just 16 minutes in. And you know what? That's one of those games, I can't really blame him that much, Totally. I mean, that was a less than 1%er to win. You could tell the mentality wasn't there. Reset, go to game 2.
I felt that. Being at 16-2 with 9,000 gold deficit, they were about to lose their tier 2 tower, making the deficit about to be 5 digits that early into the game. I didn't see much hope for Cryptik to come back. The Awilix had a cope. Didn't get those early game plays that he was looking for, unfortunately. No momentum found.
And then in the mid lane, you've got a really late game Scylla up against sops' very early game Isis. It does not go well, to say the least there, really on either end for Team Cryptik, rather. But that's only game 1. We still got game 2. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more SML action.
Skillshot, the official production partner of the SMITE Minor League.
Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League. Finch here as we are in the middle of our final set. And we actually just saw a pretty brutal end to that one. Came to a quick end, only 16 minutes. To help me break it all down, I have Melissa Taco Posada here right next to me. And Taco, that one got away from them in a hurry.
Oh, like, not a whole lot to break down here either, Finch. 16 minutes of gameplay, and it's kind of, you draft and you play it out to the best of your ability, but that was just way too much late game dependency, and Hype Unit just completely took over in the early game. It was just too much, I think, had been impacted on the map, and the pressure was just unstoppable after probably the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, it really seemed like Cryptik weren't sure how to respond to these big rotations from Hype Unit in that game, and I think that's what really caused the problem. The first one was that big rotation to the fight that we saw in solo, where Cryptik trickle into that fight slowly. ShadowChair is one of the last ones that gets there, and then you see the Horus ultimate to go chase him down too, and they end up losing that one. Then the fight between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 and left, or Tier 2 and Phoenix that they end up losing, and that just ends the surrender vote, ends the game. They didn't know how to take their losses and retreat, it felt like.
That was just a heavy outdraft by Hype Unit. In
Sure.
all honesty, Finch, I was talking through it as we were watching it take place, and I did not have a single boon of confidence in what Cryptik had actually opted for. Cryptik had actually opted
Right.
for in that one, and I think the only thing that I really want to see a change up guaranteed is give ShadowChair something that he can be a little bit more aggressive on. If he has to play into the ices, don't put him on the Scylla, man. I mean, maybe he wanted the Scylla. Who knows? Maybe he's feeling super confident in his team making it to the mid game there, but you need some kind of battle back for early game pressure like that.
Can feel a bit slow. We'll see if they make some adjustments in the picks and bans for game number 2. I believe it was Cryptik that were the first pick last time, and they shall be again. Remember, when you lose, you get to pick which side you want to be on. They ban away the Chernobog, and this is interesting. There were some bans that felt a bit throwaway to me. They did Chernobog, Amaterasu as their first 2 bans, and then I think is when they grabbed the Zhong. Maybe we'll see some differences in, well, no, it'll be Chernobog and Amaterasu. There we go. No suspense here, ladies and gentlemen. There you go.
Doesn't seem as though Cryptik are willing to switch things up just yet, but hey, that must tell you that Hype Unit have to be extremely controlling.
Clearly.
If Cryptik are this concerned about them having Chernobog and Amaterasu, SBennyQ should not be allowed, I guess, to have some sort of global pressure. And the Scotty's going to reign true as well for Cryptik here, so possible.
That 16-minute L was without Chernobog and Ama. You don't want to see them with Chernobog and Ama, right? That's when things get really scary.
That sometimes turns into the 10 minutes.
That's right, for Hype Unit. So Ares, Erlong, and Kronos have been banned out along with Scotty. Looks like based on the way things went in Game 1, things are essentially the same. Cryptik snap up the Zhong here with their first pick as well. So it's on the Hype Unit to see if they want to make some adjustments. And why would you at this point? I mean, go ahead and grab the Olorun yet again. It really was a good pick for them last game, too.
And I'm not going to say that the Olorun was, the true devastation factor, but
right, I don't think it was.
letting sops have that ISIS again, I don't know, Finch. That seems very questionable decision-making from Cryptik. But Cryptik have some spice-ups of their own. They are going to be selecting that Neja. Have a feeling that this might be intended for Copebby. Cope, probably one of the more traditional type of junglers. He is actually one of the original members, I think, that really brought this Neja to the spotlight.
It certainly can still be strong, so we'll see where that ends up going. Kumbhakarna is picked along with it, and just like that, they actually have a decent amount of control here on the side of Team Cryptik. Obviously, the Sash, the Windfire Wheels for the Neja, Kumbhakarna with the Mez, with the Root, with the epic uppercut. It feels like a banish where they're out of combat, or at least away from the fight for a while. So many tools at their disposal, and Zhong to follow up. Not a bad first 3 picks.
I think that I also really like the Kumbhakarna here because Cryptik can choose to play aggressively with this Kumbha. If it's a Blink first Relic buy, I think I'd be an even bigger fan because Epic Uppercut as well as the Mez could be very detrimental for that Isis in the mid lane. I would probably expect Cryptik to be a little bit more aware of those early game rotations out of Hype and maybe actually be looking to turn things around because of that.
Well, so far, Hype Unit are keeping things the same here, Taco. They've now grabbed the Horus for themselves as well into the support role. And for what is looking to me, I mean, based on the way things went for Hype Unit in Game 1, I'm not sure why you would fix it. It was not broken. It's really up to Cryptik to make these adjustments. And already they're also banning away the Guan so they don't have to worry about this one this time, along with the Xing Chen, who, for what it's worth, I do think is a bit underplayed. Xing Chen's pretty good.
It's also one of RussianPapi's favorite gods to play from that solo lane, so I can definitely understand why Cryptik would be a little bit wary of that. But the Hagwa into the Neith, and I like the first 3 out of Cryptik. I'm not as sold on the Habwa and the Neith. Habwa being a little bit close range based. You
Sure.
gotta
Be
get up
sure to
close and
grab
personal.
some
So maybe
groove.
if he invests for the blink, he can find them with a crushing wave. But I just don't see how this Habwa moves.
It's so funny that with the Habwa, this is the time they don't want the Awilix to give some extra knock-up synergy with it. I guess it was the Hercules they felt real confident about playing with. As Baron Samedi comes in for Hype Unit, we don't see him that much either. But just based on these drafts real quick, who you favoring, Taka?
Hype unit.
There you
I don't
go.
even have to think about it.
Well, Hype Unit's draft, it looks stronger to us on the desk, but that's why they play the game. Let's find out.
Thank you, Finch and Taco, Aggro, and Toli with you again here for Game 2. Bit of a switch up for Cryptik. They don't go with the Hercules. They change it up a little bit with their picks. MandoWarrior really the only one who stays with his selection. But I kind of love this Baron up against the Zhong, Toli. I mean, what is Zhong supposed to do against that ultimate?
The pull is going to be really obnoxious. You're going to have to trade out ultimates and hope that you kill him faster than he kills you. It's a race for the dots.
Diesel already getting poked out really heavily by SBennyQ. That's a matchup where, I mean, you think we can just go back to the same sort of style. What's up? Oh, he's going to zone. Okay. He's going to try and zone Diesel away.
I like that.
A little bit. I don't know if that's the right call. I mean, you've got so much to do in the early game, right? You got to go and get your buffs and stuff.
I was like wondering, like, what if he thought he was like Giannis ulting something? So he's
Yeah.
like, had like one of those moments.
Just kind of snap into reality.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
oh,
oh,
that's not going to work.
the wrong game. I was thinking
Yeah.
about the rank game last night.
Yeah. Hey,
I should have ulted here.
happens to the best of us. Either way, Diesel gets a little bit poked out, but he's got so many pots. I mean, still 2 more health potions, so plenty of opportunity for him to win that trade. Molluskk actually uses the beads just to get rid of the slow from Copebby's ring toss. Sibyl gonna blink in, has the belly bump, but no follow-up CC after the fact. Hype Unit goes with a very similar draft in comparison to Cryptik's big changeup. I think that we just saw enough from Hype Unit last game that this scares me a little bit.
It definitely should scare MandoWarrior from getting ganked already at level 2. Last time it was Cope ganking into that dual lane. Molluskk this time not able to get that last hit. A good attempt though, keeping MandoWarrior in check. RussianPapi was actually the one that got ganked in the previous game. And you were talking about in the dual lane why SBennyQ isn't like maybe invading after the fact. And as an Olorun, you don't really clear purple buff too fast anyway. It would be so risky to do with you being called out in the jungle. Like Cope would make that rotation and just snap kill him.
Yeah, that's very true. It doesn't clear purple particularly well. Hard to gank solo lane like that, like we saw Molluskk just try and do when you've got double health pots ticking with the health chalice and the regular health potion. You can stack those, unlike popping 2 health pots at the exact same time, so that makes a big difference in health regen. And Molluskk, again, started with boots 1 and didn't have any additional power. Maybe if he's got a mace in that spot, he could have gotten the kill.
Yeah,
Since he's backed and finished boots 2.
Yeah, this time he's definitely struggling in the Assassin's Blessing because of getting poked out, prematurely backing before he was expecting to. Cope leading that charge. Sibyl and ShadowChair doing a good job trying to combine their roots for the long-range poke. If you're going to have a Neith in the mid lane, you need a way to take advantage of against any mage, because that physical power, basic attack trades will always favor the hunter.
Maybe an attempt at red buff here with Cope coming over. It's a possibility, but SBennyQ doesn't have to worry about Diesel out pushing him because Diesel is back to base. So this is a potential 3-on-3 with Molluskk also on the way. SBennyQ's level 5, and that's going to be a big deal. Sibyl mezzes him, dashes out. Cryptik give up the buff.
They try to steal through the wall without any vision. Can't blame ShadowChair for taking a shot at the dark. No lives lost for that attempt. It does force a big rotation out of Hype Unit, leaving more freedom for the soul laners to kind of do as they please. Nothing really to accomplish there without the blue buffs being there, but MandoWarrior in a little bit of trouble as RussianPapi is level 5, but the ultimate already used apparently.
Poked him out pretty heavily. Still has teleport though, so MandoWarrior not too concerned about that. I really think that ultimate is going to cause him problems though. I mean, Molluskk coming over alone is going to be enough damage, I think, in conjunction with that Baron ult to get the kill. Mando, I don't know what his game plan is, but I'm curious to see if it works.
I know you're immune to like knockups, but you're not immune to the actual pull effect of the Baron Samedi.
It's a vortex. It's different. It's the same thing as Poseidon Whirlpool, I believe. So, you know, characters like Jormungandr are immune to it because he's immune to the vortex, but knockback immune, I don't think gives it to you.
Yeah.
So
he's going to
tough.
get pulled every time and get stunned if he... Because he doesn't have Purification Beads either, so he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. MandoWarrior trying to abuse the fact that he already backed with Shoes of Magi. Needs to delay the back a little bit further from RussianPapi as the wave has just encountered.
Yeah, he started with the Void Stone right away, but ends up finishing the boots instead of keeping it going. Copebby tried to use the ultimate right there, but molluskk quick on the Purification Beads. Good job by Cope. Playing a little bit aggressive in the early game. He tried it in game 1 at level 2, and after that was really on the back foot the rest of the game.
Naja a little easier to get these ganks rolling though, and also to just outclear most other junglers. Set known for his mobility, not necessarily known for his clear speed, at least compared to Naja. So I think this is the advantage that Cope should lean on. Maybe look for some buff invades. Haven't really seen him stretch beyond that imaginary line that dissects the map into 2. The one time that they attempted the red buff, there was a 4-man gank squad out of hype unit to defend that, but maybe look for some backhand invades. All you have to do at level 6 is throw out the ring toss and basic attack the one big harpy.
Doesn't take very long, no doubt, for Naja. sBennyQ, no boots for him. He's gone straight into the Bancrofts this time around. Last time, definitely needed the boots to get away from Diesel's aggression. Diesel playing it much slower on the Habwa this time around, of course. Is sBennyQ vulnerable, though, with this lack of mobility? I mean, he's already a sitting duck a lot of the time.
If he gets hit by the crushing wave, absolutely. He's just dead to rights. But I'm kind of curious to see the interaction of crushing wave versus the sanctified field, because you are CC immune during it.
Should be all good. sBennyQ has to use the beads and the ultimate. Diesel right there, able to walk right through him with that crushing wave, and Benny with no boots.
Oh, he gives it up though.
Oh, it's because Pegon was on the way. Another great ultimate from Pegon forces them back. So maybe a bit of a missed angle from Diesel. Took him too far to the wall, maybe with that ultimate.
You know what it was? If he just crushing waved earlier instead of walking up towards sBennyQ and then crushing waved, he wouldn't have been so far away from him once he landed on that destination that he could have got off another water cannon for the kill.
Yeah, just because when you invest that much, when you get beads and the ultimate from sBennyQ, he has no boots, and you've got a Habwa ultimate and a Neith ult coming, you have to kill him, right? I mean, that there had to have been a mistake somewhere in order for that to be a drop to kill. Sops playing pretty aggressively on the way down.
I think that was an attempted blink out of Sibyl, getting caught in combat out of Sops' wing gust. Couldn't really find the yawn, as ShadowChair was probably looking for that root around the corner. It's a good idea to really try to abuse this Isis before she has like a lot of items available.
It's going to be hard, though. I mean, Sops is rune immune during Wing Gust, so neither Kumbhakarna nor Neith can hit him with that during that period, and Wing Gust lasts for a considerable amount of time.
Just the damage alone, though, from the root out of Neith is going to be a lot.
That's true.
Like, with level 7 now, 18 stacks on the Transcendence, even ensuring like one basic attack after root. Sops' health pool not the greatest currently. Could be in a little bit of trouble, especially without Pegon having the highest points in the heal.
sBennyQ in trouble here. Gets hit by that ultimate. Diesel right there with another one, but he gets knocked back into the tower. Diesel still able to get the finishing blow, but a nice play from sBennyQ. Nearly turned it around. molluskk will finish what Benny started, but this time he does get ulted by Copebby. Sops picked off by Sibyl in the jungle. Good CC chain. molluskk in that Kingslayer ultimate. No, he hasn't even used it yet. Now is in it, I should say. Use that extra movement to try to get away, but Sibyl blinks in. May have bit off a little bit too much for his troubles. molluskk might be able to finish this before ShadowChair can bring him down.
Oh no, not like this. The turnaround play. molluskk trying to avoid it, but ShadowChair through the wall gets the kill. I believe that was a 3 for 3 at the end of the day.
Nice kill by ShadowChair. Got to pick that one up. Finally, Diesel and ShadowChair able to combine to bring down the immobile Olorun. Still with no boots at that point. Still hasn't finished him even after getting sent back to base. But a good rotation from both sides really gets the job done for both teams.
sBennyQ going to receive a lot more trouble in this lane with the World Weaver, considering that his beats were on cooldown the last time. That was a guaranteed kill. I like how Diesel used the Water Sprout before using that Crushing Wave to amplify that passive, get a little bit of extra magical power for the final blow. And almost surviving was sBennyQ with that knockup, actually.
Yeah, don't forget, that's also a heal for Olorun. Gets protections if it hits an ally. Didn't have that opportunity there, but it is a heal for him. And the knockback can tell Benny's pretty comfortable on this pick. Gold Fury started up. Sops does have that circle of protection. But here comes the Neith ultimate. Gonna try and get Pegon to eat it. He does so successfully. Ultimate from Sibyl, but Pegon gets knocked out of the circle of protection, and Cryptik walk in and steal the Gold Fury. Sibyl makes enough noise to disrupt Hype Unit, and that is a tough one to take.
Man, knockups are so annoying to deal with. Just getting completely pushed around like a ragdoll, as Sibyl might be in a little bit of trouble. Cope committing to this, but he's inside the sanctified field.
Do you think Cope's having fun right now? Just got stunned for an eternity in that ultimate. Tried to thread the needle with the ultimate right afterwards, but a little bit too little at that point. That's that ultimate is pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's, what, 50% slower amplification, something like that?
I don't even think it's that much. It's just the CC takes so long. Yeah, they're 40% slower, and he is 30% faster. But the fact that stun just lasted 40% longer than it should have, Cope had time to check Twitter in between getting stunned and when he could move again.
Just alt tab, see the notifications there. ShadowChair is going to get notified back to the grave. Can't get under his tower.
molluskk gonna almost get the last hit. I like Pegon being like, yeah, man, you got this. Go ahead. That's all yours. That's mine. That's mine. Knock up my kill.
Wing clap.
Yeah, that's all his. Nicely done by Pegon in that moment. All set up by him, so he kind of deserves it. Blink in from molluskk, and by blink I mean Sandstorm in. Of course, is he, again, no blink at the beginning of this game, just to force Sibyl back and make sure that red buff that much easier to grab.
Despite losing the Gold Fury, Hype Unit are doing a good job still keeping themselves into this game, with the kills being completely even. They're not discouraged from looking for the plays after the kill. They look for the red buff invade. Even molluskk going so far deep into the backcams. Once this power spike of the Frostbound Hammer is completed, Set becomes a totally different god to deal with.
SBennyQ needs to be a little bit careful. Diesel's right here. Big water hands. Yeah, see ya. Neith ult not even needed. Hey, Habwa is still pretty good, it turns out. Especially when he gets to walk right on top of you and you don't know he's coming.
Level 12, not even with 3 points into that ultimate was enough to take advantage of the squishy Olorun that doesn't have Pythax piece for the 200 health, going for a glass cannon build himself. You can't really battle this Habwa. Even if SBennyQ saw him, he's still going to run and try to survive.
Best he can, unfortunately for him. Not well enough. ShadowChair, good root on the molluskk. Gets a heal off bit as well as Cope and Diesel combine to bring down the tier 1 tower in the long lane. And that's a relevant one. SBennyQ now pretty far behind on this Olorun, down 2 levels to Diesel, and now has that much further to have to run away anytime they're lurking, and they're lurking right now. No beads for Benny. This one feels pretty bad. Knockup gonna be there, and Diesel finds his 3rd in a row. Pegon did what he could, but not enough. Did get Diesel's beads with the disruption during that Windfire Wheels, but still in some trouble. ShadowChair getting invited to the party. RussianPapi can't quite get the stun. Way off the mark with the Consigned Spirits, but the root good enough to set up Sops. Great ring toss from Copebby. Circle of protection too little, too late for Sops, and RussianPapi's rotation gets one, but it baits Sops as well.
A little sloppy play coming from Hype Unit, even from the backside. MandoWarrior trying to clean up RussianPapi potentially. Still is holding on to that ultimate. Pegon now between a rock and a hard place, as he's going to fight a 1v3.
MandoWarrior completely out of mana though, couldn't drop the ultimate, and as a result everyone gets to walk out scot-free. Pegon and RussianPapi, despite being below half HP, Mando can't really punish them.
No, definitely not. And this is what Cryptik need to continue to do if they want to find the advantages. Once they stole that Gold Fury, they were starting to let the game slip through yet again, but constantly leaning on the weakness of Olorun early game is the way that they can build the lead. Diesel now level 14. He's got his Spear of Desolation available, an extra 10% cooldown reduction. This item receiving a little bit of a buff as well. That passive going from 1 second to 2 seconds could easily start forcing fights at this power spike.
And now RussianPapi has the Pride win for Hype Unit early. Just CDR, it feels like. The ultimate could end up helping him with the shield after the fact. Guaranteed damage pretty much when he closes the gap. Speaking of guaranteed damage, SBennyQ, nice Aegis, won't matter. Diesel cleans that one up again, basically all by himself. Sibyl tries to keep this fight going, but it's Pegon who's now in some trouble. A lot of people waiting for him, but so is Circle of Protection. Diesel still has enough damage to make him pay. Cope's gets a little bit too late, took a big chunk from that ultimate out of Sops, but a great root on a molluskk. Sops gets killed by Diesel. It's a double kill for him. Cope still alive by the skin of his teeth, and molluskk can't get through the wall with the Sandstorm. Triple kill for Diesel. 8-1-2 for the Hobble in the long lane. And Cryptik looking much, much better.
Two things that needed to happen. Number one, sBennyQ needs wars on the left side of the map. He is dying way too often this game. Like, I understand.
He still has Baron's Brew and a mana pot.
Yeah,
that's what he had at the beginning, I think.
Too much, honestly. I think he did have a health potion at the beginning of the game.
So he bought a mana pot and just hasn't sold it for wards at this point.
I'm assuming so. And at this point, he needs the vision because Diesel is waiting around these little corners to find the knock-up and the crushing wave. Those two abilities alone brought sBennyQ to 10% health. And that was the first thing that I wanted to say. The second thing was also the damage from Diesel is definitely there to take advantage of it, but molluskk not getting that last hit onto Cope. He was in the Kingslayer ultimate. You have extra mobility. You get lifesteal from this ability when you proc 4 hits. And instead, he tries to run away. He couldn't land the teleport. Things were going south very quickly for Hype Unit.
Cryptik doubling them in kills. Doug pointed out, as you were talking about the ward discussion, that sBennyQ has placed 0 so far this game, and the entirety of Hype Unit way down in ward coverage. Makes a lot of sense. Circle protection down just for the Pyromancer. Hype Unit get it, but they don't pop the circle quite yet. They're going to need a big heal, and Sops receives it. Pegon trying to deliver him out of danger, and RussianPapi actually gets brought to the wrong spot. Sops got taken somewhere, but it was directly north by Copebby, and then sends him south. Easy kill for Cope with that ultimate. molluskk was able to escape towards the back end of that fight, but just an overcommit onto the Pyromancer, and Cryptik looked good on the punish.
I know that was a defensive ultimate, but can you imagine an offensive Horus ultimate with already life of the party starting as soon as the landing happens? That's how you enter a household party.
Dude, that is a good time if they can pull it off. A nice little wombo combo potentially.
It's like you're bringing in the beers and the snacks at the same time.
You smack them up with both of them and the party gets started right away.
And then you get iced.
RussianPapi definitely not in the right spot there with that ultimate, though. To be fair, I don't think that fight was going well for Hype Unit no matter what. Sops just a little bit too far behind. Now he has the E-Staff, though. That's going to help out. I just can't help but feel like anytime Diesel's in any of these engagements, how does Hype Unit win unless they get to insta-kill him? You've got to take care of this hot wall right away. And he went blink, no Aegis. Maybe if you get on top of him, you can turn and burn.
That's how you can tell Diesel's feeling himself, that he's like, you know what, I don't need Aegis this game. I just need to make sure that once I blink, if I crushing wave, I've done my job. And he has the right mentality sitting at level 17.
molluskk forces out the ultimate. A super late ult by ShadowChair onto molluskk. sBennyQ's Aegis and the distance got him away from that crushing wave this time around. Now he's got to deal with 2 underneath the tower. Great ultimate from Copebby. Should spell the demise of sBennyQ. Indeed it will. But here's RussianPapi inviting Copebby back underneath the tier 2 tower. Great sash, immunes the stun damage, but still going to be in some trouble. Aegis stops the consigned spirits, but the Pride Wind damage and slow might be enough. Cope's got the juke shoes, though. He's making RussianPapi miss everything at this point. Another 6 sash by Copebby. Big heal coming from the flaming spear. molluskk teleports right past him. Copebby, no blink, and finally brought down, but certainly wasted some significant time on the left-hand side.
Cue the Benny Hill music during that one. Timing those sashes. This is why Naja is such a good god to play, whether it's in the jungle or the support. A mechanically gifted player on this god can truly demonstrate the potential of not only the offensive prowess of it by getting the kill under the tier 2 tower, but even the safety measures. Being able to absorb tower shots, absorb an ultimate ability, the last tick of that life of the party and the stunning effect. Getting the heal off, the slows, not using the slows on the enemy god, but rather using the slows on the minions to get more movement speed for himself was the big factor.
Sick plays on the left-hand side for sure. Diesel was able to escape in the midst of all that, by the way. Diesel now has a Staff of Mirrodin. I think this is the first time we've seen it. As Diesel now may need to use his ultimate defensively. Indeed he will. RussianPapi was right there, but MandoWarrior brought in. Great 3-man knockup by Diesel, but no ultimate available for him, but a double water spout will do the trick. Nice double knockup there with that Staff of Mirrodin. and it's going to be molluskk who pays the price. Diesel finds himself a double kill, taking down sBennyQ yet again. Good peel coming as well, but Diesel turns around, tries to get it back going, and he's okay. He's safe. Cope cleans up sops in the jungle, and that hobwall we were saying needs to get taken out. And Hype Unit invest a lot, they just can't get it done.
It's a 3-for-1 thus far. It could be a little bit more with RussianPapi and Pegon stuck between Cope, Sibyl, and also ShadowChair.
Heal comes through for RussianPapi, level 18, so he's got quite a bit of protection with that Lotus Crown as well. Pride Wind coming up, that pass is ready to go. It's just a matter of his ultimate being there to match. He's got plenty of CDR, so it won't take too long as he's still keeping this chase going. Diesel meets back up with the opposition. That should be enough damage. Finally knocks down Pegon, 11 in a row. Now for Diesel, can make that 12 as he cleans up another double kill, 13-1. Welcome to the Diesel show, everybody. 15 of Cryptik's 19 kills have gone through this hobwa.
One more away from godlike after that one. Seeing this objective being taken now, Cryptik do secure it despite the presence from sBennyQ. Might find the kill onto Sibyl with the help out of molluskk, but I think Cryptik are still very happy after this exchange.
molluskk has to use the beads right away, but they still are there for when Cope fires off his ultimate. Fortuitous timing for sure for molluskk. Sops coming back, Skewer slows a couple. Red buff still secured anyways by Team Cryptik, handed over to MandoWarrior, who's gone for full damage. Zhong, he's not your typical soul lane sort of tank as he blinks on top of sops and just half healths him instantly. ShadowChair gets the cleanup duty. molluskk gonna have to run away after all that damage. They didn't even need to use MandoWarrior's ultimate.
Turns out Zhong is still pretty good no matter what lane you put him, long lane or the short lane. This level 18 tanky target by his protection, and the E-staff is what's making him so tanky, being able to strip away the health. Not much Sops could have done there. Left alone and isolated, Cryptik have been able to turn around this game despite losing convincingly in the last game, surrendering at 16 minutes. You got to give a lot of credit to Cryptik here.
Cryptik's in a great position, but only at 5K. Does that seem a little low for you?
It
feels like they've been winning everything.
3 Furies, all these kills, it feels like it should be way more than this.
Cryptik get another objective, though. Pyromancer will help bring that up, and oh boy. This is where you wonder if this is going to go well, because this is, like we said, it's only 5K. Blinking from Pegon onto ShadowChair. Stun and Diesel ultimate onto the support, and Pegon's just fine. Fire Giant's still putting damage onto Sibyl and MandoWarrior as Cope finds the ultimate onto molluskk, who's lurking in that backline. But that's a fairly tanky member of Hype Unit. Still has a little bit of HP, trying to heal off this blue buff, but finally brought down by Sibyl's epic uppercut. But here comes the rest of the squad. Sops takes down MandoWarrior. Diesel in a bad spot. Sops gets a whole heap of gold from that kill and the shutdown on the Diesel. And you can just tell that felt like a bit of a rough engagement for Cryptik.
They really did, honestly. Everyone from Hype Unit was certainly prepared for that one. And they just don't have the damage, the consistent damage. ShadowChair playing an ability. Hunter doesn't have the in-hand damage to really get Fire Giant low enough. And Diesel ran out of mana very quickly in that last fight. Cope now trying to do whatever he can to stop this Fire Giant.
Blink in from Sibyl, silence on a sBennyQ who gets rooted in the pools. He's taking a lot of damage, but the Aegis is pretty good, but not good enough. Cope able to find number 22 for Cryptik. Sibyl takes down Pegon at the same time. RussianPapi does answer back a little bit, but Cope's got another member in this guy. It's Sops, and ShadowChair is ready with the follow-up 3, 2, and 11 for the Neith in the mid lane. For as bad of an idea as it was for Cryptik to pull the Fire Giant, Hype Unit decided they wanted some of that too.
Yeah, Fire Giant's definitely a bait and a trap this early into the game. Cryptik was only up about 5,000 gold when they first tried it. Hype Unit with a player advantage, sure, but yet again, they are too lacking a little bit of that consistent basic attack damage. Once Cope showed his face, instantly Pegon tried to go in. Everyone out of Hype Unit tried to reset the Fire Giant, but it was just too little, too late, because now ShadowChair shows up and he provided the pain on top of Cope.
Rough game for sBennyQ here, 1-7-5 for him. Very bottom of the player damage charts, even below Sibyl so far. They haven't, Cryptik hasn't gotten enough quite yet, but this looks like the best Fire Giant pull yet. Only molluskk close. It's going to be up to him to try and steal this one away. They spot him on the ward, but he has the Kingslayer available. Blinks in. molluskk not able to get the Fire Giant. He gets flattened by that crushing wave. And the Fire Giant goes to Cryptik. and they pick molluskk at the same time.
Very clean this time around. No one really available out of Hyphenate to play defense. A good attempt out of molluskk, but playing the set, like, what steal potential do you really have against Diesel? That was a desperation tactic, hoping somebody was low that he could at least either barely get the last hit or at least find a kill in response, but he got neither.
Talisman of Energy to pick up here for molluskk. I don't hate it. I mean, you definitely need magical protection against Habwa and Zhong. You get a little bit of it here with this pickup, and you get some HP. You get this movement speed and attack speed when you're in lane, near minions that are dying. Both of those things are great for set, plus you're giving them to the rest of the squad. I think this item's pretty good. I just don't know if it's what molluskk needed. Maybe Chile might have been better in that slot.
It could have been, but I like the idea regardless. I think that there also needs to be a runic shield from somebody on top of this, as long as there's going to be that all-in dive onto Diesel. Reduce that magical power by 50, but so far it doesn't look like anyone is going to be building into it. I would like to even see maybe molluskk build into it.
Could be a decent option for him. Looks like he's going to be going for more pen.
Yeah.
Pretty low in that department. By pretty low, I mean he only has stone-cutting sword, so the poke damage from Skewer not really there for him. Tier 2 tower goes down. Cryptik able to knock that one down quickly. Solidly in control here in Game 2 after a 16-minute surrender in Game 1. It's quite the turnaround for the boys at Cryptik.
After getting this Tier 2 tower and now the Primal Fury, this is going to give them a whole big boost to start commanding the game, but they still need to find a way to siege these Phoenixes. And against an Isis and also sBennyQ playing this Olorun, that's easier said than done. And I'm looking at how the engage from Cryptik is going to occur. You got a blink from MandoWarrior, a blink out of Sibyl, a blink out of Diesel. But if all three of these targets are blinking and Cope goes in with his Sash and Ultimate, who is really peeling for the backline? Cryptik doesn't really have those defensive peeling options if things go south.
You're basically looking at Kumbhakarna to do it all for you, and that's quite a bit of responsibility on Sybyl's shoulders, but he has also had a much better game. He really struggled on that Hercules. The Kumbhakarna has looked very good. 17 of 25 kills he's been a part of. Been in the right spots for sure. MandoWarrior is pretty isolated here, all alone as the rest of the squad backed. You can see the pings coming from Hype Unit onto him, but he's retreated far enough that his team could come to his aid in time as molluskk seals away the red.
Hey, quick math question. What's 17 over 25 percentage-wise?
I cannot do that.
Yeah, 68%.
Yeah, you could have asked me. You could have asked me the capital of an old country that doesn't exist anymore, and I would have had the same percentage chance. My brain does not math that way. As soon as you said 17 over, I was like, I'm done. 17 is not a clean, easy number.
Yeah, but 25 is though.
Yeah, that doesn't help me. I need both to be clean.
Okay,
if you would have been like, you know, what's 2 over 10? I would have been like 20%.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would have been right there. Why? What do we got? What was 17 over 25? Oh, that was the kill participation.
Yeah. When you said 17 over 25.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had no shot at that. Not even a prayer. Definitely was not happening.
Hype Unit needs a prayer to hold on to this Tier 2 tower. Fire Giant buff only there for another 15 seconds, and this is go time.
Oh, MandoWarrior brought back in, and there's the ultimate from sBennyQ at the exact same time. No beads for Mando, and he gets punished immediately. ShadowChair really low as well. molluskk did a great spot. He gets ShadowChair, and Sibyl hit the wrong target with that epic uppercut. Pegon eats that perfectly. Copebby now trying to win the boxing trade, but this build for molluskk is built to box, and Pegon brings down Copebby, a 3-for-0 up against Team Cryptik. Fire Giant fell off right at the right time, but really, I think Hype Unit just pressed tab and went, wait a minute, Mando doesn't have beats. Let's just kill him.
And he was a little bit too far from the rest of his teammates. Certain members were around the jungle side. They just assumed, Cryptik assumed that Hype Unit was going to give up this Tier 2 tower for free. It's like, oh, we have Fire Giant buff. Surely they're not going to defend the last Tier 2 tower, but they were proven wrong. Great play, great shot calling, and execution from Hype Unit to defend that Tier 2 tower.
Wow, when they lose their mid-Phoenix for it, that is a huge swing in Hype Unit's favor. And Fire Giant's about to spawn in 15 seconds. They've got a chance of getting that before Copebby is able to get there and be relevant in the team fight, but they decided to play it safe rather than sorry. They all hit back and head back to base. They strip the enemy jungle, get their red, They're going to get their own red buff right after the fact, and they're going to be set up for a great team fight because Sops and sBennyQ were under no pressure at all that team fight. They both have beads Aegis available.
They definitely did, but without their beefy frontliner for Cryptik, it was a lot easier for Sops and sBennyQ to just freely cast. Like, who's really going in? Sibyl was forced to play defense for trying to get everyone to escape. It was too little too late, but the trap of the Fire Giant earlier on that we saw, it took 3 tries for both of these teams to finally get the Fire Giant. This time around, I'm not sure if either of them are confident enough, especially Cryptik, now that they have to defend this middle lane flooding the fire minions.
RussianPapi eats a CC chain. He's going to take some damage from that for sure. Cleanses the slow coming from that card with his own consigned spirits. molluskk is looking like he has a great angle into this team fight. So RussianPapi continues to be a focus. Pegon also a little bit below. Blink in from Sibyl. He finds the epic uppercut right away, and that's Sops who's in trouble, but he gets the ultimate off right on time. Diesel first one out of the fight, and that is huge for Hype Unit. molluskk takes down ShadowChair in the blink of an eye. Cope next to follow. sBennyQ finds 2 quickly. MandoWarrior doing what he can. Plenty of damage, but not enough. 4 dead. And totally, this game is over. That's a clean deicide.
Can we see the healing done? Because I'm seeing how RussianPapi and also Pegon carried that fight. So difficult for the damage dealers out of Cryptik to make anything happen. Also, the ultimate from Diesel, I don't think hit anybody. It was through the Sanctified Field, but everyone just split like the Red Sea through that corridor, and after that, Diesel was a sitting duck. The flank that you were alluding to, molluskk managed to isolate ShadowChair, and just like that, Hype Unit on the back foot the entire game, come back and win the set.
Man, that one has gotta hurt, especially for Diesel, man. My man is 13-1, killing it.
Yep.
And then gets 2 deaths, and the game is over. Just like that. I mean, Hype Unit was getting crushed all game, and they end up taking the sweep.
I think their composition was better. Honestly, the Guardians between the Horus and also the Baron Samedi, which we don't see very often these days, very popular during Season 5, but now we might see a little bit more of it against the Zhong in particular.
I just feel like Mando's got to go beats in that matchup, man. I mean, to go teleport and blink, I agree with the blink. I think you just don't go teleport. And you
also
kind of accept that you're getting a little bit of a worse landing phase.
Diesel with the blink as well, not having the Aegis for all the damage dealers that he received after the crushing wave. Those 2 blink factors hurt them at the end.
Tough loss right there for Team Cryptik. A game that was in their hands slips through, and Hype Unit ready to snatch it on the way down. They get the sweep 2-0. Let's go to a quick break, but after that, we'll be back to break down the entire day of the SML.
SteelSeries, the official peripheral provider of the SMITE Minor League.
Welcome back to the Minor League. My name is Finch. I'm going to help wrap things up for you here today after a long day of Minor League action. I say long, but we had a lot of 2-0s. It wasn't that long. Taco is here with me, as she has been this entire set. I'm happy to have you here with me. That one ended kind of on a dime, didn't it? We just finished up that set there with Cryptik, and really, they had a really good chance, it felt like, to close that game out, but 2 bad fights, that's it. That's all it takes, and they lost the game.
Rough stuff for sure for the Cryptik fellows, but hey, in all fairness, the first 20 minutes or so of that game actually looked pretty solid,
Yeah.
all things considered. I think that it was some decent back and forth throughout the early game, but Diesel really just started pulling ahead on the Habwa, was able to have a pretty big impact. Sibyl as well with the Gold Fury steal. That was definitely instrumental for helping Cryptik kind of surpass Hype Unit throughout that mid-game segment, but unfortunately, Finch, when you're trying to siege against the ISIS Olorun, it feels like the Fire Giant was just the start.
Yeah, the 5v5 fight that Hype Unit had, factor in the Baron there as well, and the Horus was brutal for them to try and deal with on the side of Cryptik, but that's not all. ShadowChair got isolated very effectively by molluskk on the set. That made a really easy pick to take that annoying Neith out of the fight early on too. It really only takes a couple of moments, a couple of those fights where maybe you're a bit broken apart or your initial initiations do as much damage as you expect it to, and then all of a sudden you're overcommitted in a bad spot.
That's why it's so tough trying to take those jungle fights inside, because those tight corridors, I mean, those play entirely into the circle of protections, into that sanctified field. sBennyQ had a fantastic placement of that last sanctified field, really prevented Sibyl and Diesel from being able to reconnect with the rest of the team, and that's where the true separation happened. And when a Mid-Phoenix is already down, well, the rest is kind of history.
That's right. They're able to just walk it down Broadway. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings then for today. We're starting with North America. Sanguine up at the very top. Maybe not too big a surprise, except for the fact that they took down Armada. Sanguine clearly benefiting from coming here to MSI. Exilium struggling a little bit, and Cryptik down at the bottom as well too. They'll need to make some adjustments. We do also have those European standings coming your way. Simplicity and Queso up there at the top.
Which is crazy. Queso having so much success this early on.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get tougher as the season progresses, because all of these teams got to keep in mind the meta's constantly changing.
And remember, we added 2 teams to each one of the regions as well, to EU and to North America, so we still don't even fully know where all those teams stand stacked up compared to everyone else. So even though there's teams ahead or at the bottom after these first 2 weeks, I would make sure I stay tuned for each week. You never know when there's going to be big shiftings in those standings.
I have to appreciate, though, this level of competition, Finch. Absolutely love whenever we get to see the versatility between these players.
Yeah, it has been a really strong day of action. I expect that to continue throughout the rest of phase number 2. That is going to do it for us here at the Minor League, but don't think we're done for the rest of this week. Tomorrow, Esports Weekly at 4 p.m. You don't want to miss that. On Thursday and Friday, SPL at 11 a.m. Patch Notes is going to be happening tomorrow as well. I heard something about new God needing to be revealed and such, so there's some stuff that you're going to want to make sure that you're watching there too. So there's plenty more coming your way over the rest of this week. Enjoy today, get rested up, and then I'll see you all tomorrow.